Hello, everyone. Oh, it's so wonderful to be here tonight. Welcome to our reading, which is part of Emerge Online. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and their continuing connection to land. At Queensland Poetry, we respectfully acknowledge that our work takes place on the unceded lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people. I pay my respects to elders past and present and recognise the important role Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people play in Queensland's creative and artistic life. My name is Rae White. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm your host for this evening. I'm the events and marketing manager at Queensland Poetry, and I'm so excited for you to join us for this wonderful online event tonight. Tonight, as part of Emerge Online, we'll be hearing the latest work from two contemporary Australian poets, Jacqui Malins and Scott Patrick Mitchell. Before we kick off, though, I have a very exciting announcement: the launch of our Poets in Digital Residence chapbook. So if you head to our website now, qldpoetry.org, you can check out this amazing chapbook, which is titled Bird of Paradise. A little bit of background on Poets in Residence. It was established in 2005, and each year we invite national and international creatives to engage directly with Queensland's poetry and spoken word communities. And it was such a joy and honour to work with the three poets in residence over this past year. The chapbook, as I said, is called Bird of Paradise and features newly created work from Eileen Myles, Andy Jackson and Laniyuk, and it's supported through Arts Queensland. So definitely head to our website to check that out. And while you're on our website, maybe treat yourself to a festival pass for Queensland Poetry Festival, which is what we're all here for. And if you treat yourself to a festival pass, that is for our live and in-person festival from the 3rd until the 5th of June at the Judith Wright Centre in Meanjin, Brisbane. And that festival pass is fantastic value. It gives you access to all QPF live readings, panels and conversations, free access to selected online events, and a 10% discount at the festival bookstall. So, I mean, I'd get one. You should too, if you go to qldpoetry.org and have a look at our website, grab yourself a ticket, a festival pass, and also have a look at the wonderful new chapbook. But without further ado, we should get this amazing reading underway. I know I'm excited to hear from these two incredible poets. Tonight, we'll be hearing the latest work from two Australian poets, Jacqui Malins and Scott Patrick Mitchell. First up, we have Jacqui Malins, who is a Canberra performance poet and artist. Her first collection, F Words, was published in 2021 with Recent Work Press. She has created poetry shows, Words in Flight, and Cavorting with Time, with a chapbook of the same name in 2018, also with Recent Work Press. Jacqui produced Canberra's 2021 Poetic City Festival. Thank you so much, Jacqui.
Thanks so much, Rae. I'm really excited to hear about the Birds of Paradise chapbook and check it out after this event. I guess I first of all want to acknowledge before I start that I am joining you all from the lands of the Ngunnawal people here in Canberra, and I want to express my gratitude and respect for the elders past, present and those emerging, and thank them for their custodianship of this beautiful land that I'm now privileged to live on. And it's really exciting to be here as part of the Emerge Festival, Queensland Poetry Festival. We are kind of emerging into a world that seems the same and also different. Obviously, the ongoing challenges of COVID are affecting some people more than others. And the fact that, we're still having or now have all these amazing online reading options is one of the good things, I think, that has come out of the challenges of the last couple of years. And even though it's been a joy to get back to some in-person events, that's not possible for everyone. So it's great to still have online options available, and the access that they offer to people in a whole bunch of different situations, and to be able to reach out. And yeah, hopefully I have got, I can't see you all, but I'm sure I've got friends out there who wouldn't be able to join me in a room in Canberra tonight. Welcome to you all. That's one of the really good things with this new world that we're emerging into. Tonight I'm going to be reading from my collection F Words, which came out last year. I was really struggling to choose my set for tonight. Yeah, there were a lot of different things and themes that I felt like I wanted to speak to. And then as I leafed through the book, I realised, you know, I've got my favourites to read, and then there are other poems that are sometimes neglected. So I decided to hand control of this set over to fate and fortune in the spirit of F Words. And I've got this very exciting random number generator here, which I have programmed with the beginning and the end of the page numbers that have poems on them in this book. And I am going to read whichever poems come up. It might include some that have never actually been read out loud before, or some performance favourites, we'll see. This is well, it's not quite a choose your own adventure. It's let our adventure be choosed for me as well as for all of you. There may be no rhyme and reason, or perhaps a rhyme or reason will appear or even emerge as we go through. So I'm going to kick off the generator and see what the first poem is. Okay, we've got page 54 here. I need a drum roll. Okay, I'll go on to the first poem that comes after the number 54, which happens to be blank. And this is called The Patriarchs. That they can hurt us. That when push comes to shove, the ugly, open secret at the foundation leads us back. A map, a memorandum, cyber haters, packs in public places, daily news, words, figures, dollars, more usual tools. Rational adults, so we must play nice, act all civilised. Written in the mortar is the law that the top is their rightful place. But throw down the stones we prize out, and we're picking at the edges of the edifice now. Let's not forget to thank these gods, as we should. So much magnificent effort they have spent for our own good. For thinking men, Homo sapiens, ruling empire requires justification. Fragility, instability, the need for protective custody, biology and medicine soon confirmed with overwhelming evidence. It's common sense. So science dressed brute force. Arms not long enough, they picked up sticks. Fists not big enough, picked up stones to fight, strike, protect the mother of their child, bend her to their will, make sure she was never their competitor for anything. They were bigger, stronger, back before we were human. Okay, well, that's a strongly worded start to tonight. Let's consult fortune in the form of the phone and see what number we have. Okay, number 91. This is very exciting for me. Hopefully it's exciting for you as well. Okay, we're going to get into something a bit historical and something a bit visceral this time. We have the 5 Embalming Jars of Dr. Frederick Royce. So I will just give you a little bit of context from the notes for this one. Frederick Royce was a botanist and anatomist who lived in the Netherlands in the late 1600s and early 1700s, and he was remembered for his new methods of anatomical preservation, and he created carefully arranged scenes and filled a museum with preserved human body parts. So yes, let me introduce you to 5 embalming jars of Dr. Frederick Royce. Nature mort. Closed system. No eco. Pickled fish swims in your liquor balsamicus, noses the shallow dome at the base of the jar. Above the air pocket, at the vessel's neck, lid sprouts antlers of coral. Dead-eyed Piscine cousin perches there, angel on a tombstone. In the next jar, no visible meniscus. It is filled with gases, the correct element for this pensive bird. Beak curved, glass eyes downcast, claws cling to thorny buds. Dead air trapped by a lid, dense with meadow flowers, a damselfly, mushrooms, all sucked dry of juice. Its neighbour holds a fetal armadillo. How it got from womb to jar, I don't know. Clearly this creature has never been born. Translocated into vitreous sac, swimming in new amniotic fluid. Unformed pores folded, empty sockets stare through the lid at a tiny grassland it never explored. A Suriname toad, babies still birthed from her back. Blisters erupt heads and legs. Was she in her chemical bath when they hatched, or plunged in mid-labour? Desiccated garter snake winds up the jar to a lid crusted with sponges and seashells. I'm sure this mother of toad never swam in salty water. The final jar, a puzzle, ornate lid festooned with branching coral resembling plastinated veins. It takes seconds to recognise the contained shapes. Human child's forearm with hand, skin frilled around the severed end, decomposing into doily, nudging a hatchling turtle, wizened head and foreflippers bursting from ruptured egg. Cryptic metaphor? Aesthetic composition. You filled jars, constructed dioramas like department store displays. Infant skeletons decked with flower crowns dangle fetus puppets from bare phalanges. Cups, blushing human hearts, weep into pocket handkerchiefs without monogram. Were you doing death a service, making it seem sweeter? Displaying your particular power over corruption? Tsar Peter the Great visited your museum, kissed a mummy, bought the entire collection. Shocking in our hygienic now. Perhaps I should have given a gore warning for that one. At least it's ancient gore now. Okay, consulting fortune for our next poem. Back towards the beginning of the book, number 11, page 11, let's see. So the F Words title connects to the chapter headings in this book. There were kind of themes and I guess titles starting with F linked them together. Fables, family, far away, feeling, feminism, flight, flora and fauna. And on page 11, we are still in the first section, which is the fables section. And this poem is called The Barrel. And it's after the musician Aldous Harding. I don't know whether any of you have watched her music videos or live performances, but I found this particular piece very captivating. So it's an ekphrastic poem of a kind. The Barrel. A plucked wire figure repeats, plectrum engine propelling perpetual motion arpeggio. Follow ivory chimes through the burrow to where she waits, oscillates in Puritan dress, jacked up sneakers, singular maiden gleaming to see you. She feels your love, sings silver suede of ferrets and eggs, dares you to get her metaphors, know what she means. Unconsummated key change teases, shape shifts. The blue-faced crone is dancing. The child voice sings a skew of time and tune. The music stops. Hold the gap between. lashes. Melodic engine kicks back into motion. She feels time is up, cuts a caper, back away, back out of the barrel. Okay, this certainly is presenting a diverse set by having relinquished control to the universe. Okay, let's see what our next number is. 57. Oh, my goodness. I thought it was programmed so it wouldn't repeat, but we've gone back to the patriarch, so we're going to have to go back again. Come on, do a better job, Fate. Number 86, page 86. So we're in the flora and fauna section of the book, and I'm going to read Rakali, which starts on 84 but continues to page 87. This piece is about, well, from the perspective of a Rakali, which you may or may not know is a native water rat. These creatures live all over Australia, and there are actually many Indigenous names for them, but Rakali is a name from Victoria that has been gifted to us to use as the generic name for these creatures. They're more like an otter than a rat. Water rat really doesn't do them justice. And I have been lucky enough to see them on occasion in the lakes around Canberra, including Lake Burley Griffin. So this piece, I'm just going to have a little sip of water before this watery poem. This piece looks at some of the history of our landscape in Canberra from the perspective of the Rakali. Here am I, Rakali. See me, if you are lucky, at the surface. I flick white-tipped tail, submerge, ripples disperse. My element, water. Lithe droplet, I flow, sinuous, wind to the bottom through cold layer, current. I am not cold. I am warm fur bag of blood, studded with silver blisters. Air trapped under water's glove, one body moving boneless through another. Porous, like lake lined with slurry, earth mixed with water. Nothing is pure. I push snout into mud, feel for water bugs, muscles. Open up, eyes, ears, nostrils, skin, whiskers, every membrane. I am lake. Sense this whole wet volume, vibration of particles, waves. I resonate to echoes knocked back, fuzzy from sludge, sharp off rock. I twitch with mosquito larvae, rustle with carp. Crash with black swans landing, webbed feet breaking liquid skin. A roo chased at dawn by dogs splashes in, fills me with breathing, heaving, muscular legs, turbulent churning until, out of depth, exhausted, breathes water, sinks. My forebears lived a winding chain of pools and streams, were stillness and running, were hidden places, their places, shared with cod, smelt, frogs. Hidden places still exist, upstream. I forge that way, cleave surface with snout, trail a rippling V, climb out of water, out of myself, shake off, shake apart, smatter drops on warm rock, preen pelt with teeth and tongue. Sun teases moisture from fur clumped. I steam, lift sinuous onto breeze, meet my ancestors. We coalesce in cloud, look down at lake. They show me the shape of water they knew. Ropey flows laid over this bloated beast. Only neck and tail, where river pours in and away, match their memory. We fan out on wind, fly east to where the land lies like it did before the clearing, fencing, grazing, building, before the changing. You damned, nearly damned us, clotted the veins of this dry land, turned shallow banks sheer, turned river to lake, made lake a trap. You were skin bags of water too, propped up, sloshing on hard bones. Will you atomize, one day rise and look down with your descendants? Ancestors' warmth evaporates. I cool, condense into saltless tears, rain into myself, flick white tail tip, slip back under lake skin, disappear. I am Rakali. I am here. Okay, let's see what our next lucky poetic number is today. 75. We might still be in the flora and fauna section tonight. This is good. I'm quite enjoying this. The surprise. Okay. This is quite a long poem. I'll see how we're going for time. This might be the last one. I'm not sure exactly what time we started, but yeah, this is from my Words in Flight show, which was mentioned in Rae's introduction, a whole sequence of poems that connected to flight in different forms. And this particular piece is called The Storm Speaks to Eva Wisniewska. Eva Wisniewska was a Belgian paraglider who was competing in a competition in Australia about 10 or 15 years ago, and she was sucked up into a thunderstorm during the competition. And this is the story of that experience, but from the perspective not of Eva, who's still living and able to tell her own story, but from the perspective of the storm. The storm speaks to Eva Wisniewska. I watch from a distance. I don't exist yet, not in my final form. I am ephemeral, ineffable, but I won't let that go to my thunderhead. Puny, featherless birds with flimsy jelly bean apparatus sprinting across the hill to catch the rising draft, chasing one another to no destination. And you, Eva, do not look like the toughest in the flock, but your stance spells determination. You are addicted, fixated on flight. Up here, I can't blame you. I've never been cursed with weight, solidity, been netted by fences, caught within walls. I am a shapeshifter. Here and there at once, I appear and disappear like a dream. Who am I to begrudge you the hit, the high of flight, chasing ecstasy through space? It's bright today. The scalloped curves of cumulus could cut, but belie their true nature, moist amoeba that engulf and disgorge you, changed. You and your kind know my potential. Your instruments have picked up hints of me beyond the horizon. But for now, swoop and glide through clear air, wind thrumming your cables, the crackle of radios, your only tether to the ground. How far can you go? Further? Further. How fast can you fly? How high? You see me now, crouched. I gather my parts, swallow my neighbours, pile up with each merger, insatiable. I didn't come for you, Eva. I started on this path before you were born. In the chaos of weather, I could only be predicted a moment ago, but I am of moment, and my momentum is inexorable. Here I come, ready or not. You are under me now. Feel my first spit and spatter, shots over your bow. You can't see my terrible height, how I have risen like dough, while you focused on the chase. I grow faster than I can eat, guts hollow, a vacuum, a volume that must be filled. I gasp like a drowner. Inhale you. You ascend as if I had pinched the top of your canopy between finger and thumb, plucked you up in one smooth lift. My breath, you ride. Leave the air you know behind. Black out. Fly blind. In this dead zone, I see the inert object is most stable. Hung like a stone, your body slows to a glacial pace. Ice turns nylon parasol to providential steel. Dangle in your cocoon, ragdoll limp, circling, silent. You slow dance inside me for an hour. Below, I put on a show. Flash, crash, hurl a bolt, strike one of your fellows. Fatally. Up here is graceful stasis. Trace your circle through my finest vapours. Maybe I'll keep you for company. I would have to fight gravity. Eventually, she claims you. Your circles spiral, and you just plunge into violence, into breathable air, into viable warmth, into consciousness, into waking nightmare, into banshee wail, hail, and howling descant, into numb limbs, hands, rubber in their gloves. Despite all this, you cling to your grips, haul your chute to a defensive tilt, and descend a demented corkscrew, dropping faster than I lifted you. From my cold crucible, you are reborn. Emerge to find the earth still there. A landscape painting waits to catch you. Too hard? Soft enough. Ice pummeled, gale bruised, you lie still until your cell phone rings, tinny in frostbitten ears. You will be saved. You will be shocked to learn how long you flew, intimate, insensible, inside me. Don't bother railing or blaming, and don't thank me for your saving. I am already gone, rained out. Okay, I'm going to take one last tiny chance. Oh, and if it's a short poem, there'll be one more, and if it's not, that'll be the end. We've got number 10 this time, back near the beginning of the book. Okay, this is quite a short one, so I'm going to finish with Go Wolf, which is a poem reflecting on some of my experiments with all natural body hair. It's called Go Wolf. I go wolf, let pelt flourish, tendrils finger the air, antenna for supersensory perception. Feel water moving by the molecule, subtle stirring of nitrogen and carbon dioxide in the draft. My lovers wander weedy thickets, hunt scented scrub for soft centres. Samson's femme antithesis, I shear hair, bare lupine head feels fearsome. My sole predators, humans and bears. I shy from hostile eyes. Leave wolfishness behind a while. Go back into ladylike disguise, at least below the knees. Look down at wolf limbs dressed in baby skin, tender as pinky mice fed to captive reptiles. Go wolf again. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. That was a really different set to one that I would have put together myself, but I hope you've enjoyed it. It was really interesting to visit some of those poems that don't get out at readings very often, and I'm really looking forward to hearing Scott Patrick Mitchell very shortly, and yes, to enjoying more of the Queensland Poetry Festival, both online and in the beginning of June, IRL in Brisbane. Thanks everybody who's put this event together.
Thank you so much. That was such an incredibly captivating reading. I almost forgot that I had to speak next. That was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful work. And I know I'm going to be rewatching this video. We did have a question in the comments, and yes, you can rewatch this video on our Facebook page. So if you want to revisit any of Jacqui's amazing work tonight, then you can absolutely do that. And also any of the amazing work that Scott Patrick Mitchell reads out tonight, because next they're up. Scott Patrick Mitchell is a non-binary poet who lives and writes on Whadjuk Noongar country in Boorloo, Perth. Their work explores ecology, queer identity, addiction, recovery, love, grief, and how poetry can transmit awe. Their first collection, full-length collection, Clean, is now available through Upswell Publishing.
Hi. Thank you so much for the introduction, Rae. Thank you, Shane, for having me and Queensland Poetry. Honour to the Whadjuk Noongar Nation on whose land I live and write. I pay my respect to elders past and present, and to any First Nation people watching in the audience or as a recording later on. We live on stolen land and sovereignty was never ceded. This is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land. So, my name is Scott Patrick Mitchell. My pronouns are they, them, or he. And I'm coming to you from Boorloo, Perth, in Western Australia. If I look a little bit stressed out or tired, that's because I am. About 2 hours before this recording, the power went out in my suburb. And so I've had to relocate my little kind of studio to my sister's, which is a suburb over. And yeah, it's been fun. So I will be reading poems from my collection Clean, which is available now from Upswell Publishing. So yeah. Him. Our Father, stars are the art in heaven. Hollow be the sky that does not contain them. Hello be the aim of an introduction. Twine, winged one, my heart is undone. We need to undress. We need to undress and press us against us. It will lead to temptation, which will quiver an upheaval. And our love will flower song immense in the face of the eternal. I forever endeavor to be a lover, a partner, a boy, a man. And just to give you a bit of a sense of the kind of flip side, so the collection does deal a lot with addiction and recovery. In fact, that's the entire narrative. I'm going to read another short poem. So general content warning for issues surrounding addiction, but this is kind of, these two poems are kind of like the mirror images of each other. The Blood Thieves. When we were gone, we were an ache of poison, gray, thin wind, erosion. We wanted to steal red rush of blood from their heads, make their health ours, dab desire, pinch capillaries, rouge rogue lifting to the skin, paint borders beyond our own. So The collection is hyper kind of personal. I'm going to read the title piece clean. So this was published by the kind folks at Impossible Architects a few years ago. And when they published it, I kind of realized that maybe the poems that I'd been writing about my experience with addiction and recovery actually have a place in the world. And spoiler alert, they do. So this is the title piece. It is a longer poem, so sit back and smash that little heart button on your mobile device if you're watching on a mobile. Clean. After one day, you still haven't slept. Wonder what you're doing with yourself. Energy grates, grinding makes you deaf. Remember, all poetry begins with a decision. Either to be read or to be written. You are a poet, a poem. From this, an epic. Getting clean begins with cleaning, so clean. Dispose of all sharp things responsibly. Replace with forgiveness. After 4 days, sleep has come hard. The majority of it you spent unconscious, so deep you left an indent on the other side of mattress. Hypnos was glad you finally stopped by, took the time to realign, reshape landscape, let the crush of blankets be mortar, a foundation to vanquish, allow ruby slippers to be stolen. Do not chase after them. Red shoes make you dance until you're dead. Instead, remain buried. You shall arise anew from this grave, adorned in resilience. Jew. After 1 week, you still feel like this is your own fault. Please note, this is not an excuse to return to what you've learnt by rote. Instead, drag yourself through the days. Fill veins with nourishment. The stink of chemicals seep out. If all else fails, sleep. You're getting really good at it. After 3 weeks, your dealer texts. They want to make sure you haven't died. Do not reply. They only concern themselves with your coin and addiction. Theirs is one of misery capitalism. If necessary, drink coffee to give yourself a kick. Those flashes of fun that burn in your brain, they shall haunt you for as long as you travel down this road. Remind yourself that these desires, they are dying. Let them. Sometimes death is slow and painful. After 5 weeks, that money in your pocket shall yearn to be spent. Buy yourself books or a new look or more food to fill the aching behind ribs. Replace all of the things that Crystal took. After 2 months, the color returns to the world. Your cheeks. You are filling out your form as if ticking boxes. For reassurance, all progress is progress. If your dealer calls, block them. You are touching sun. Remember, reward yourself with poems. Become addicted to something other than destruction. After 4 months, you will feel human. It is a path of calendar. The mark on your arm has lost that color, is no longer bruised. It is a reminder. Take each day in your arms. Slow hug that lasts 24 hours. Be proud of small accomplishments like looking at yourself in the mirror without flinching. Muscle is taut. You ungaunt. Make tea. Smile softly. Pink cloud, an apostrophe in a sentence, lifting. 5 months on, heady moment of recollection. The body has memory, remembers maelstrom. Nature is speaking clearer. Stones sing as they once did. Clear space inside yourself. there is grief encroaching. Your mother will forgive you. The city will too. Walk with both of them. Watch as age takes hold. Gain more weight. Shame is such a heavy, useless emotion. After 6 months, you will still be haunted, but at least you're clean. Thank you. Um, oof, I do enjoy that one. Very much a catalogue of my experience taken from journals at the time. And I'm really happy to be able to share it with an audience that I cannot see. The next poem, just a content warning. This one deals with the shooting that took place at Pulse nightclub in Orlando on June 12th, 2016. So if kind of homophobia is triggering to you, please take care. There are one or two things that are just going to be bleeped that I'll say bleep. But otherwise, 49 mobile phones. What is the sound of a kiss between a man and a man if your worldview perverts you from seeing all the lonely people? Where do they all come from? Here, Eleanor Rigby is a drag queen. Beetles bump beneath skin as bones bounce in ecstasy, and Orlando is a woman who was once a man who is now a woman again. In musical theatre, it is perfectly the norm for men to dance a chorus line form. The same can happen in a nightclub. So come, seek sanctuary. After all, closets are for lions, witches, and wardrobes. But him, that one whose name now gives him power beyond the grave, and his legacy already stains rainbows. He's out to bang the cocked gun of being human and all the hate that can bring. Hot damn! A screaming orgasm, red-headed bleep, slippery nipples, sex on the beach, birthday cake, prairie oyster rumpelmunts, an ice luge, gold clanger, Jägermeister, kamikaze, mind eraser, bombs, the three-toed sloth, boilermaker, fireball, flaming Lamborghini, chartreuse, schnapps, absinthe, bleep sucking cowboy, bleep licking cowgirl. These are the only shots that should be heard ringing out in a nightclub. What is the sound of a kiss between their death and your living? 49 mobile phones call out in unison. Whew, thank you. This is very surreal not having an audience that you can actually see, but that's okay. We will keep going. This is another longer piece that I rarely get to read in open mics and such. So, as I mentioned in the poem Clean, part of the recovery process is coming to terms with different forms of grief. Recovery in itself is a form of grief, of letting go. But one thing that I noticed was that when I reconnected with my family, I had missed a whole period of time, and suddenly my mum was an old lady. She is now 87. And coming to terms with that space of missing out, that missed time, my brain kind of imagined these, scenarios that are on the horizon, maybe in another 5, 10. She insists on living to 110. So I'm not very good at math, but if you do it, figure it out. So this is one of 3 imagined endings. This one's called The Wilderness Steals My Mother's Voice. 1. Beside the pink dying bats, a microclimate. Termites slaughter infrastructure, conjure, burrow. Out of beams, they build a network of lightless galleries. Here, they debate the creation inherent in their destructive act. Anarchy begins this small, mounting. They speak in terms of alarm, direction, food source, a calling that pairs reproduction to the body, to the colony. Beneath, we hear the scritch of their politics, a mimicry of our own bones, frictive, cracks, filigree, feather, ceiling. From her sick bed, my mother laughs at the symmetry of her own dying body and this house about to fall in on itself. Her home groans. It is in on the joke. 2. Hooves, plunder, roof. Outside, a wind-horse deluge. Mother refuses to cross over. Not yet, she says. Stubborn, her sweat wefts linen with outline of her shape. Her white hair, a garland of salt lake. Beyond the royal sunsets, nothing more than a shift. We descend into this. What is a storm if not the world saying, see, I too can break things. This cannot be fixed. Inside of her, infection exists, colonized lungs, each breath grasping more thunder through plasterwood rift, dust stills as if fireflies. The lights flicker. Inside my mother's chest, there is a foal, trembling, pale. It looks just like me at the edge of wilderness. 3. Elsewhere, other ecologies are collapsing. A koala clings to the top of a burnt blue gum, searching for leaf and kin, her paws pink, blistering. In the artery of the Murray-Darling, cod and carp bloat as the current chokes for oxygen. Across 2 hot days, flying foxes amass grave. In an outcrop, a black-flanked rock wallaby gathers her offspring near. Wind whimpers, scent of surveyor. Serenade for end days, my mother's fever rambles from up her throat. She tells me how every wrinkle across her body is a lineage endangered or extinct. How, as a child, she wanted to make the world into an ark, but the only wood she could craft was a coffin she called a home. Afloat on elegy, she struggles for breath. Elsewhere, other eulogies are being carved into earth and bone. 4. Pre-grief, press into me how we harden before the shatter and gape. My mother sings gospel and hymn, rasping. She asks the termites to stop eating. They do not listen. Instead, a sound of something feral. I help my mother to her feet. She shivers, arctic, yet her palms smolder. As we step across the threshold into the hallway, thunder is thrown from the clouds through the ceiling, an eruption of plasterboard and beam as roof vomits onto her empty bed, covers us in dust in the cacophony of cave-in, of termites screaming, of the wild wet outside entering our house. My mother begins to unravel. She becomes river, rubble, open-cut mind, bleached reefs stubble on wind-thrashed sand, an inferno, an inferno, an inferno, and from above a song leans in, it borrows my mother's voice, and from parched lips sings, you had the whole world in your hands, you had the whole world in your hands, you had the whole world in your hands. Now it's come crashing down. Thank you. I think I have time for one more. I do believe. I cannot see any of the moderators, but I have a clock running. Before I finish, next issue of Westerly, I am presenting my work as part of my mid-career fellowship with Westerly. So I have 3 poems appearing in there that explore queer identity in relation to drag, nightclubbing, and activism. So if you read Westerly, be sure to check it out. And of course, don't forget to read Clean, out now through Upswell. Final poem, one of my favorites. I adore reading this one. So here we go. Oh, before I start, the refrain that appears, there's 3 words. They are the common names for West Australian bush orchids. Marry, remembering Melia Regional Park. An obituary. The forest breathes us in. We are chasing bush orchids. Camberang is brimming through a macro lens. Petals bend, fill the screen. Blue, beard, duck. Your grin dazzles, blonde hair curling around my heart. We laugh, the forest smiles with us. Donkey, elbow, leak. Beyond the breadth of this ocean swims. Here is the place of the moon rising. The forest sighs, as do I. You smile wide, engulf tree and leaf and trunk. Fire, slipper, sun. You say to me how love is like a wildflower, a moment that recurs again and again when the conditions are perfect, as in how they are between us now, in this instance. Your kiss persists, travels through time, backward and forward. Berry, helmet, hair. The forest knows that in 2 years from now, we shall give up this connection. How in 4 years' time, I shall write these lines and our love shall exist once more for a moment. How sometimes a poem is just a memory, remembering, hammer, rattle, babe in a cradle. And I want to believe that love lasts forever. But the conditions fall apart like us. This is why we take photographs. This is why we write from the heart. That is why I dance with you now beneath the marry trees in the hope that one day you would marry me. The forest breathes us out. Thank you.
Oh, I'm going to need to think so much about those wonderful poems. That was absolutely phenomenal. Incredible reading. Thank you so much, Scott Patrick. Oh, I have many feelings, and a couple of cries ahead, I think. That was beautiful. Thank you so much to both our readers tonight, Jacqui Malins and Scott Patrick Mitchell. And yeah, thank you so much for that beautiful work. Before I go, I think I should mention once again at the start, I spoke about the Poet in Residence digital chapbook. Please check that out on our website. It's called Bird of Paradise, with new work from Eileen Myles, Andy Jackson, and Laniyuk. And also don't forget to check out our upcoming events. We've got one posted in the chat there called Community of Poetry. And we have more emerge online for you in the lead up to Queensland Poetry Festival, as well as the live in-person events, which are from the 3rd till the 5th of June at the Judith Wright Centre. Thank you so much and have a really beautiful night, everyone.